A fit body leads to a fit mind. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. Again, one of these topics where people have lost sight of this, right? People have lost sight of this. We've known about it forever, right? Ancient Greeks knew this. They realized this. Doctors have realized this for years, but suddenly what we've had happen, because there's been certain divergent aspects to our society, we've lost track of this because of many of our intellectuals have stepped away from physical endeavors, and because for many of us, the less intellectual people were oftentimes went over into sports when we were younger. It has created a large divergence here. When the fact of the matter is, historically, it was understood that these things overlapped, that a fit body and a fit mind often went hand in hand, that a thinking man was fit. This was known to the ancient Greeks. This was known even in the Renaissance eras. This was known even in many circles in the U.S. just 100, 200 years ago. This was a very much a culturally understood thing, right? This was an understood thing. And people have often realized that, hey, keeping physically active helps keep a sharp mind. But for some reason now people have, I'm going to be sedentary and eat junk and pursue, say, more cerebral endeavors than as an excuse to step away from it. But is it really cerebral endeavors? I get it if it's computer programming or engineering, but we've now reached a point to where, as a society, we often see getting involved in, say, video games as an intellectual endeavor. But it isn't always, because many people who are not bright are very successful, even at a competitive level in video games. But the problem is that takes people away from health and fitness and so on. So that's one example of what we've seen. We've also got the classic example of the skinny or weak or overweight nerd who is not physically active. The reality is, when you get into many lifting and fitness circles, you will find the super nerds are competitive. Just going to throw that out there. Anyone who's actually stepped away from just like the high school football type scene or whatever jock scene, you get over into some of these really serious iron sports, you'd be shocked how many super nerds exist. How many super nerds exist. In fact, I'm very much a nerdy person in a lot of ways. All right. Now, that being said, that's oftentimes who your best coaches and other people are. Okay, because we're cerebral, we're thinkers, we're intellectuals. We can conceptualize these ideas. All right, set that to the side, and let's come over to what emerging data has shown us. Absolutely a correlation. We see certain things like, yes, grip strength and physical activity and weightlifting tend to cause better cognition and things in old age, right? We know this. But what about the rest of it? What about when it comes to mood, when it comes to clear thinking, clarity of thought? Physical fitness matters. Why? Well, because, for example, if you have poor insulin sensitivity, it absolutely affects cognition. It affects memory. Okay? And I'm not saying that's going to take someone who is an intellectual and make them an intellectual, or automatically make someone who is an intellectual into a dumber person or a below average person, but it is going to cloud their thinking. It is going to slow their thought process down, because we know that the brain and the nervous system itself has components with that. Unstable blood sugar levels, elevated blood sugar levels, poor insulin control in our body will absolutely impact cognition, speed, memory. So, in other words, a poor diet itself can contribute to slower thinking in a person. Okay? Can also contribute to laziness. All right? Where do people think we get that stereotype oftentimes with the obese? It's not because there's something wrong with the person, right? It's not a failing of the human being. It's that when you feel physically bad, you're going to tend to be less motivated physically. But the other thing to think about, what about when we're dealing with those other things? We know that Body fat itself causes insulin sensitivity issues. It causes inflammation in the body. Well, what does this do to the brain? It's going to impact motivation. It's going to impact speed. It's going to impact all of those things as far as clarity of thought, motivation, ability to do things with your mind over time. So it's not that it's a failing in the person that's causing it. It's a side effect. And this is why the stereotype exists, because it's been observed. Okay? And I'm not saying it's an absolute, but it will create the tendency because it has to do with biology and chemistry. The body fat itself that has been accumulated will contribute to these health markers and things in the bloodstream that will affect your motivation at the brain, your ability to feel good, your ability to focus. So if that happens, you're going to become lazier, not because it's a failing as a person, but as a side effect of the medical end. Right? It's a side effect. So again, it's the case of healthy body, healthy mind. All right? Healthy body, healthy mind. Again, it's not going to change what your innate nature is. It's not going to do that. But what it will mean is, given whatever your potential is, whatever your mental health is, whatever your mental faculties are, they will be enhanced to some extent or deteriorate based upon poor physical fitness, based upon combinations of diet, physical activity, all those things, because those things all work hand in hand and they affect inflammation, they affect blood sugar, they affect insulin control, insulin disposal, glucose disposal, all of these things. So if your body is unhealthy in those regards, your brain tissue itself will become diseased, which makes sense. It's a tissue of the body. And when we are unhealthy and unfit and out of shape and have all of those blood problems due to being sedentary, due to poor diets, dietary deficiencies, bad foods in our diet, all the cells in our body suffer. And that includes your brain tissue and your neurons. So yes, absolutely. And we see it as time goes on. The older we get, we see it impacted massively and measurably in the lab in people. Okay? This is not a fringe area anymore. This is absolutely mainstream science. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.